Andy and Mike back with you again, and we're upped our game here a little bit, and in light of all the recent school shooters, Mike's come up with a little bit adjusted formula and a wall panel that we think is going to stop everything we throw at it outside of a 50 cal, and we've already proved we can do that. So, Mike?
What we've been working on is a couple of different systems, ballistic systems, that can be inserted in any schoolroom, mall, courthouse, you name it, to provide protection and cover in case there's an active shooter. So we're going to simulate an active shooter event here today. We're going to hit these at about 3 yards with some pretty heavy munitions. Hopefully you've seen our past videos on the composite block system that we use. These particular mixes that I used here stopped a 50 caliber. In fact, it stopped 3 50 caliber rounds at 10 yards. We're not going to be hitting them with the 50 caliber today, but we are going to be hitting them with the 30 caliber armor piercing to see what that'll stand up to. It's already proven very well to stand up to everything else. One of these blocks I hit with 60, that's 60 rounds of AR-556 green tip NATO armor piercing. Then I hit it with about 6 rounds of 12 gauge shotgun slug and buckshot. Then I hit it with about 24 rounds of 45 caliber ACP. Then I hit it with about 50 rounds of 9mm. The one block, same thickness here, held everything. It stood up to the pounding. It did great. On a subsequent video, I took something about this size, same composite, and subjected it to a 3,000 degree high intensity blowtorch for almost 3 hours. And the only thing that happened was the face of it began to glow. I could put my hand on the top, the side, no problem. It stood up to that kind of beating. After which, I hit it with a sledgehammer with 30 strikes before it finally failed. So that's some pretty good building material. And I'll remind you, this is about 80% recycled material. So it's an excellent building material. It's going to help clean out our landfills. It's going to provide an excellent building material for structures like safe houses. Think about Napa Valley. 10,000 buildings were leveled by fires. Northern California, entire neighborhoods were wiped out because all the houses burned down. I put up against this on the side a box that was made out of the standard industrial materials used to build a house. It lasted 5 minutes. This lasted, well, 3 hours. It could have went 3 days. We think it's going to be a great building material, as well as a ballistic barrier that could be built into homes, tornado shelters, hurricane shelters. We have high expectations how it's going to perform in earthquake zones, because this is absorbent material. It absorbs the energy that's thrown into it. This is what we started with. The problem with this is that you can't put it in like a classroom as well as paneling. So we're testing paneling as well. But as far as this is concerned, great building material. It's going to stand to anything you throw at it. And it's low cost. Both these systems, low cost. The 3 scariest words in the vocabulary of organizations, school districts, law enforcement is budget, budget, budget. They can't afford the high-tech stuff, so they don't buy it. So our children, our friends, our family, ourselves, we're still vulnerable because nothing is purchased that can be employed in our working and living environment that's going to provide us with cover in case there is ever an active shooter event. So as far as employing a ballistic barrier inside a building or on the outside of the building, we also are developing paneling. This can be turned into furniture, podiums, walls. We tested this and it stood up to a barrage of munitions equal to what we think an active shooter would bring in. We've hit, on the previous shoot,
I think we actually went above and beyond what an active shooter would use.
yeah, we were using 30 caliber, okay? Think about a school shooting. Even though it may not be an adult active shooter, it could be a disgruntled student. What's he going to do? He's going to go home and get his dad's deer rifle. Those can equate to a 30-06 or a 308. The last shoot we did, we shot a paneling that was 3 inches thick. Now, I updated this a little bit to 3.5 inches for the sole purpose of meeting the standards of the building industry. Most walls are built with studs. They're 3.5 to 3 5/8 inch thick. So that's what we went with. In fact, this is tracking for steel framing. So this is going to be thicker. Our last shoot was only 3 inches, and it stopped the 7.62 by 63, which is a 30-06. It stopped the 7.62 by 51, the 7.62 by 39, which is an AK-47, multiple rounds of an AR-15, 5.56 green tip NATO, 12 gauge shotgun, all at 3 yards. Just what an active shooter would do.
And then, of course, you want to realize that statistics show most active shooters happen with handguns. And so most handguns, the most common handgun in the world is a 9mm. We upped the game at 3 yards with a 44 Magnum. And we've stopped everything so far.
It was no contest. What we're going to try today is we're going to hit it again with the 30-06 caliber. These are going to be display models. So we hope when we walk away today there's going to be a lot of holes on this side, nothing on the back. And we're going to step up the game a little bit, is we're going to hit it with a 30 caliber armor piercing. If we can stop that, then it's reached a level 9 on the UL 752 ballistic scale. That would be quite substantial. So that's why we're testing it today, and we're very confident. It's already proven to be at a level 8. We're hoping it's going to be at a level 9. Only the testing will prove that, and then we can go forward with this. Again, this is low cost. It's low tech, low cost, highly effective. This is just as good, if not better, than the high tech materials and systems that are out in the marketplace right now. Again, the schools cannot afford the high tech stuff. Ballistic doors start at $3,000, and that's not even putting them in the walls. I encourage everybody to research some of these shootings to see exactly what happened. The Parkland shooting in Florida here just a while back. The shooter came up, walked up to the door, put a hole through the little glass window that's in the door, stuck his AR through the window, and started shooting students that were huddled in the back of the classroom. One girl had a plastic cooler in front of her. That's all she had for protection. That's all she knew what to do. That's pathetic. That is sad. We are not providing protection for our kids that are in these schools or in malls or whatever. This is a low-cost item that can be employed in these classrooms. It takes seconds to jump behind them. It can be made into paneling, a desk, a wall, a safe room. It takes seconds just to dive behind these things, and if the door is locked and they can't get in, the active shooter can shoot as much as he wants. He can empty all his clips. It's not getting through this. And because it's low cost, the schools can afford it. That is one of the main things we're approaching and engaging, is the cost factor. And we think we've got it down to where these panelings are going to be anywhere from 50 to 80% less expensive than the high-tech material that's out on the market right now. The schools can afford that. The law enforcement community can afford that for their areas of operation. Think about areas that are heavily infested with gangs. Drive-bys. You hear every day in the news, a bullet goes through a wall. and it takes somebody out, an innocent. We have a solution. We have an answer. Today we're going to test it. And hopefully in the near future, we're going to actually put it up against some IEDs. The word on the street right now is the most favored and a practiced IED is the pipe bomb. So we're working with local law enforcement with their bomb disposal units to include us in some of their training to where we can subject both the composite block system and the paneling system to IEDs, because what the people in the know are saying now is that these attacks, these active shooter events are going to get more sophisticated. The active shooter is not just going to walk in with a high-powered semi-automatic weapon. He's going to walk in with that and an IED. So we're hoping we can be able to test this against some high explosives on the order of like a pipe bomb, a bucket bomb, pressure cooker bomb. You remember the Boston Marathon bombing? That was a pressure cooker bomb. And we've got some larger paneling made, 3x3, and hopefully in a few weeks we'll be able to take that out on the range and subject that to some very heavy pounding, as well as possibly a 50 caliber again, to see if the paneling system will stop to 50. Composite, we got that on video. You can watch that at your leisure. We know that's going to stand up to a 50. Hopefully this will stand up to a 50. Hopefully both of them are going to stand up to some high explosives, and we'll see how it responds to the compression wave, which is very critical, and the shrapnel as well. So we have a lot of exciting things planned for our materials. Right now, it's met the standard. We're bringing it up a notch. So with that said, you want to say anything about the munitions we're going to be using today?
Well, I think you pretty much covered it. We're going to be using, in the handguns, we're going to be using a 44 Magnum, just like before. I'm also going to whip out a 1911, a 45, and just going to blast away until something breaks here later, or until I run out of ammo.
I think it's the latter.
We're also going to be using the 30 caliber 7.62 by 51. The 7.62 by 63, and as Mike said earlier, we're also going to be playing with the 7.62 by 63 black tip NATO armor piercing round. I don't think we're testing today, Mike. I think we're proving.
Yeah.
So what do you say we dig out the firearms and go prove something?
Let's give it a shot.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Let's see what happens. Okay, we're going to hit this. This is a 7.62 by 63 armor piercing black tip NATO. I've got two panels. They're different by just a little bit. I've got a thinner skin face and back face on this one with a round core material that fills the inside of it. Now, this is fairly heavy. It's about 41 pounds. Okay, just a 1 foot square paneling that we're going to use for a display model after we shoot it up. This one has a thicker skin to it. This paneling has twice the thickness of the face here and on the back, with a more rigid and a more hardened core material. So this is the lesser panel, this is the greater panel. I'm trying to get a range here of what this can handle. I'm hoping the lesser panel can withstand the black tip armor piercing NATO, in which case manufacturers don't have to pay as much, and it's going to be cheaper in cost. That's the beauty of it. Now behind this I'm going to put kind of a real thick, heavy-duty paddle tail in case the black tip does penetrate. We're going to find out how far it's going to penetrate if it goes all the way through. Then we'll hit the composite blocks as well. Two of them, they both have a different mix, again with the different core materials infused inside the block. One has a lesser core material, one has a greater core material. And we'll see how those respond. So here we have the two panels, the lesser panel and the upgraded, more hardened panel. two different core materials, different thickness of the face on the back and the front. That's what we're going to hit it with. Armor piercing caliber. That's a 30 caliber M2 black tip NATO. Now on the back of this, I've just got some OSB board. Just in case it penetrates, we'll see if it penetrates a little or a lot. And then I've got some steel plating here to see just how far that armor piercing is going to go. So we're trying to gather data as to what this paneling can take as far as the munitions we're going to throw at it. Then we're going to hit the two blocks. Again, both of them have a different core material, same core materials as the two paneling, but now in the composite block mixture. Both these composite blocks proved to stop a 660 grain BMG 50 caliber. We're going to see if it'll stop the black tip NATO armor piercing.
This is a 1941 M1 Garand. Everybody's familiar with it, and you've seen it in many of our videos. This is an actual World War II Garand. It is currently loaded with 30 caliber M2 armor piercing black tip rounds. So here we go. Fire and hold. Clear.
Well, the top block, nothing in the tattletale.
What do you got?
Nothing out the back of the first block. It means it stopped.
It shattered the block, but
It shattered the block,
caught it.
but it caught it. The second block, that is a compression wave.
And there's the steel core right here.
There's the steel core. We pull it out, so it stopped it. You see that? There's the tattletale behind it. Nothing in the tattletale. Both blocks were successful. There's part of the jacket right there. So it stopped it. It took about 3/4 of the block, but there it is.
It's got to be here somewhere.
What are you looking for?
The other core.
Oh, there it is.
And there's the core.
Point. There you go. So the composite material was successful against a 7.62 by 63 armor piercing black tip NATO round. Both composite blocks.
So the block took a beating, but it stopped it.
That's what it's supposed to do. Let's check out our paneling. There's the face, there's the hit.
Went through.
It went through, unfortunately. But not by much. There's nothing coming out of the back. This is 3 inches of rubber. That's 3 inches. This back tattletale. So paneling number 2 with the thicker face and the more rigid core material did not stop the armor piercing bullet. You can see where it hit right here, about the middle of, here we go, can you see that? About the middle of the backstop. It did not go through the entire backstop. I'd have to dig it out and see how far it went through. So it slowed it down significantly. Paneling number 1. to satisfy everybody's curiosity is I'm going to rip this open and see if any part of the jacket or the steel core penetrated. So let's tear that apart right now and find out what we got. So let's rip this apart. Let's hold it right here. So let's take this OSB apart. So there's the first OSB board as a tattletale. So let me get a close-up of this again. See an anomaly right here where something either punched it or penetrated. This is the first layer of OSB, about a 1/4 inch pine OSB flake board. There's the back where the anomaly is. And there's the steel core from the armor-piercing 7.62 by 63. So it did penetrate the paneling and the first layer of 1/4 inch OSB. And the second layer stopped it, which means 3.5 inches of the paneling will not stop an armor-piercing, but that can be compensated by making it wider or thicker, or adding other things to the outside skin of the paneling. One possibility would be adding like a truck liner, which is a polyurethane base. Another option would be gluing ceramic tile to the face of the paneling, or increase the thickness of the face and the back face of the paneling to a thicker steel sheet metal. Some people may not even care to have a paneling that can defeat a .30 caliber armor-piercing bullet, military grade. That is a munition that is highly unlikely to be used by an active shooter. The long rifle of choice over the last many years has been the assault rifle with a 5.56 or 223 munition. There you got the core right there. That's a steel core. Looks like it went all the way through the paneling and tumbled and came through almost sideways. This might actually be a survivable event. If there was someone on the other side of the barrier and was struck by this, it probably would not be a fatal shot.
As expected, the composite block, the safe house block, you saw us a little while ago take the core out of the block, holding the tungsten core in my hand. The other block took a beating. Again, we recovered the tungsten core. Didn't penetrate it. The two wall panels, we did penetrate. However, we slowed the round significantly and recovered the core. We recovered the core from the tattletale, which tells me that if you were hiding behind a desk and took that round as a body shot, it would be a survivable incident. It's not going to be a lethal round. Versus sitting behind a cooler, all right, that round is going to go through you, through the next wall, keep on going. There is no possible way of survival. This was survivable. This was not a lethal attack.
And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to develop ballistic shields, ballistic barriers that increase the survivability of the people that are utilizing them. Law enforcement, our students in our classrooms, colleges, malls, TSA in an airport. These are all soft targets. We're trying to enhance these environments, upgrade them, harden these targets so they can survive a horrific event, a horrific active shooter event. We do not anticipate somebody getting a hold of armor-piercing .30 caliber bullets.
Well, Mike, I got to tell you that the round that we were using today would be considered an exotic. They are as rare as hen's teeth. They're very expensive, and it's not something you're going to find in a gun store. Our shooter's going to come into a classroom with an AK-47 or a 9mm or a 5.56 like the Parkland shooter did. This is going to stop those rounds. We fired a tungsten core armor-piercing round, a military round meant to penetrate steel plate, and we captured all 4. Our regular shooter is a guy that got a box of ammunition from Walmart or stole it out of Dad's closet, and Dad bought it at Walmart, or he bought it at Gun Emporium or whatever. Standard issue rounds or standard manufacturer rounds are not, they're just not going to penetrate this. Okay, the round that we used was an exotic. It's a rare round, it's a very expensive round, and it's a round that 99% of folks don't have laying around in their gun safe, unless you're a collector like I am. And I can tell you that I searched far and wide for those.
Yeah, hard to find.
And they are very expensive because they are they're a very rare exotic round. They're a collector's round. So
now consider the fact those rounds were designed for military use against armor-plated personnel carriers. We almost stopped it with 3.5 inches of paneling. That's pretty good.
I think what we can do if we wanted to up it some more is to coat it with a material similar to a pickup liner.
Yeah, it's a polyurethane. You can coat that up to like 1/4 to 1/2 inch thick. It will.
And I bet you that would stop the armor piercing.
That would add. But even still, if you're putting into a home or a back of a classroom, building walls, secure shelter, safety room, whatever, once these goes up, normally you're going to be putting some kind of a facet or face on this to blend it into the environment or the room. And there you can add a little bit thicker board or facing or siding or whatever.
Or something as simple as wallboard that you're going to cover it with and make it look like any other wall.
And that's all the farther went through behind block number 1, or panel number 1, was a 1/4 inch OSB. And it stopped on the next board. That's where we found it. So another option would be ceramic paneling. Ceramics are used extensively in some of the high-tech ballistic shields. It's a little bit different ceramics, but you can get some very nice-looking ceramic tile paste right on there. It's in your home, it's in your basement, ceilings, in the back of your classroom, whatever. People come into the front of your business or your precinct if you're law enforcement. You got a nice paneling there with ceramics on front or nice siding, which will stop a .30 caliber armor piercing. But like Andy said, and I mentioned, highly unlikely that an active shooter is going to use that type of armament. So what we're going to do now is we're going to subject it to those long rifles and handguns, which have been more commonly used by the active shooters that we've seen over the last couple of years.
So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to still up the game a little bit. I think we're going to do the 7.62 by 39, which is the AK round, and I'm just going to zipper them right across, because that's what an active shooter does. He just fires blindly. Well, I'm not going to fire blindly, but I'm going to zip them straight across, hit them multiple times, and again, we're not testing, we're proving. What do you think?
Sounds good. And then I'm going to hit it with an AR-15 5.56 green tip NATO across the bottom.
And then I think
Your shotgun.
you know, most shooters won't use a shotgun, but I got a better idea. I've got a 1911. I think I'll just do a whole magazine straight across the middle.
Okay.
On each block.
Let's prove it.
Let's do it. You remember my Russian SKS? It's loaded with 7.62 by 39, which is the AK round. And we're just going to see what happens here. And just for laughs, on the block, clear.
.762 by 39, which is the AK-47 round. Any penetration should have been right here. We got a little bit of a compression wave right there. That's panel number 1. Panel number 2, about the same. No penetration. These are compression rounds coming through. That was from the armor piercing. Very effective against the AK-47.
And the block stopped it. The round is right there. There's the core, right there.
This would simulate an active shooter coming up to a classroom door and trying to unload his clip through the door or the wall next to it into the classroom, where you have all the kids huddled in the back of the classroom, which I don't recommend, because now you've got a massive humanity in the back of the classroom. They're all screaming, giving off their location, and the active shooter knows exactly where they're at, and all he has to do is point his long rifle that direction and pull the trigger. 5 shots would simulate a clip. The panels would simulate a podium or a desk or a wall barrier in the back of the classroom where all the kids are huddled. Now they're safe. Prior to that, there's nothing stopping that bullet from going through that wall or through that classroom door and striking the students in the back of the classroom.
Most recognizable handgun in the world, the Model 1911. This is a Springfield TRP Professional. It's the same thing that that Secret Service uses, but more importantly, it's a 45. And so we're going to do a magazine each straight across from about 3 yards. Clear.
Well, it was peppered pretty good. Nothing. That was from the AK-47 round. That was from the armor piercing 30 caliber. If anything came through, it's going to be in this area. Nothing. Panel number 1. Here's panel number 2. No damage on the back caused by the 45 caliber. If an active shooter is going to use a handgun, it's going to be the 9mm or the 45 caliber. The paneling was successful.
Just in case you found one of these in Dad's closet, this is a Colt Anaconda. It's a 44 Magnum. Clear.
That's some big holes. This one's almost on top of our armor piercing. Nothing came through, no penetration. Panel number 1. Panel number 2. Hitting very close to the 45s. Looks like two of them are on top of each other. You see that's a double hit right there?
I do.
You hit it 3 times. In fact, that's almost a triple hit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'd be probably 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
4. Because you hit this 6 times with the 45. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's probably almost all of them on top of each other.
Nothing.
No penetration. Landing on top of each other.
Nothing.
No penetration. Panel number 2. 44 Magnum.
Well, Mike, as you can see, they took a beating. This is what they're designed to do. They took a beating. We have 0 penetration, with the exception of the 1 armor-piercing round, and even that wasn't a lethal hit. But 45 auto, 44 Magnum, the 7.62 by 39. I'm emptying full magazines here. Nothing. 0. This is a walk-away event.
And one of the best features of this, I'll keep reiterating it, low cost. Organizations that are looking to enhance, upgrade, or harden their areas of living, of working, of activities, they can afford this. Okay, now we're going to hit it with 5.56 green tip NATO armor piercing. So go right across the bottom and see how she holds up. Fire in the hole. Clear?
Couple of dimples. Couple of nothing. No penetration. 0. Zip. Nada. Nothing.
Now this particular long rifle is used more extensively in the active shooting events over the last many years than probably any of the others. Got very close right here. It's just almost penetrating. It's probably the compression wave, but nothing came through. Same here. This is really nice right here. I like that. I like them both. That's even better.
Once again, this is a walk-away event.
Yes. This would have protected anyone behind it.
Hi, Mike. Here we are with our old friend again, the M1 Garand, or Garand. I've got a full clip of 7.62 by 63 MK4Z NATO rounds. This is a military round. So, here we go. Clear.
Panel number 1 held. That puts this at a level 8. Underwriter Laboratory 752 ballistic standards. And there we are again. No penetration. Panel number 2. Again, that's level 8 UL 752 standards. Let me point out something here, Andy. There's about 25 holes in the face of both these paneling. The standard ballistic charts only call for between 1 and 5 rounds. This has nearly 25 rounds. I would say that is a successful ballistic barrier that I would want in my kids' school. We both work in law enforcement. I want this in front of my people who are out in the public eye and are vulnerable to anybody walking up and deciding to do something really bad. This is a successful ballistic shield, and let me point out one more time, low cost.
You know, we said we came out here to not to test, but to prove. I think we've proven our point. I'd love to have this in my school, my kid's school, my grandson who's going to be going to school here in a couple of years. I would love to be able for him to hide behind something like this if necessary.
And it takes seconds for them to dive behind this. Where some of the systems they have now in the schools, well, one of them employs a blanket that has to be handed out one by one. They have to put it on, then they have to go crawl in a corner. How long does that take? You have seconds if there's an active shooter coming down the hallway. You don't have a minute or two. You have seconds. If this is designed into furniture, into a desk, into a podium, into a long wall, the kid's going to dive behind that within seconds. I'm talking under 10 seconds. They can all be there as the teacher is locking the door. Everybody's safe. The people are thinking this through, are not dialing in and equating the time factor when these things happen. This will work. It will work better than anything that's out there. And did I mention low cost?
Once or twice.
Okay.
All
okay.
Right. I think we're done.
I'm very happy with what we got here.
Let's
call it a day.
Let's call it a day.
You got it.
Okay, here we are once again. We just could not leave things alone. Wasn't quite satisfied with the results of our last shoot here a few weeks back, though it was remarkable. I wanted to stop that 7.62 by 63 armor-piercing bullet. It barely penetrated both of the panelings that we had. We know this because the first paneling on this side, we had two of them, the one on this side penetrated and then went through the first layer of paddle tail, which was a 1/4 inch OSB pine flake board. So we knocked the energy out of that thing down to the point where it was probably no longer lethal when it came through. The paneling in the middle, well, when I took everything back to my shop, I tore apart the backstop. I found the steel core of that armor-piercing bullet just on the other side of the cardboard. It penetrated the cardboard, hit the rubber backing, and just fell down. So again, that's indication that we knocked almost all the energy out of that round, and it was probably not lethal. So we concluded after that shoot that all we had to do is either widen the paneling, which we don't want to do. We want to keep it to the industry standards, which is 3.5 inches, to match that to framing and building industry standards and things like that. So we don't want to widen it. We could thicken the skin of the face, the front and the back. Not too crazy about that either. But chances are, if this is going to be made into a podium or a desk or some partition, you're going to want to put something nice on the front to increase the aesthetics. So like if you're walking into a courthouse entrance or into a business entrance or into a school entrance and you have these things in front of you, they're all nicely dressed up. Or if you're putting into a wall, you're going to have like a siding that you could put over it. And with the materials that are out on the market, this is easily done. So what we did is we took the existing paneling design and we just put a nice facade or face on it, both front and back. And I did two systems. One that would simulate putting on like a real nice tile, either glass, ceramic, porcelain. In this case, it's stone. And on the other side, I have siding in case you put it into a wall and you just want to cover it. We're thinking that the addition of either one of these will complete the design and it will completely defeat the round. So that's what we're doing today. We just up things a little bit, I want to see that round captured. That's what I'm looking for, and we can provide a complete system that will do exactly that, up to and including an armor-piercing .30 caliber, which is very unlikely ever going to be used. And he pointed out that most likely we're going to, an active shooter like at a school or at a business, a disgruntled worker, disgruntled student, they're going to take whatever in their dad's gun locker, or they're going to steal it out of the next door neighbor's garage, and the ammunition they're going to get is the stuff they can buy at Walmart. Highly doubtful they'll ever get an armor-piercing .30 caliber. But just in case, we're going to provide something that will stop that route. Andy, anything? Any comments?
Yeah, if we stop the .30 caliber armor piercing, we stop everything, because that .30 caliber armor piercing is meant to go through, plate steel, and the Walmart round isn't. Walmart round is meant to kill deer or whatever. So if we can stop that tungsten cord round, we can stop everything, and that's the plan.
Once we complete that, I'm going to take an AR-15 against it. I'm going to put about 30, 40, 50 rounds into it, just in a 1x1 square foot block, and we'll see how it holds up to that, because that would more closely represent an active shooter coming into a school or a business where they got a 30 round clip and they empty the whole thing on a door or a wall, or hopefully they'll have our system in place. I'm thinking it's going to capture everything we throw into it, from a 30 round clip and then a second 30 round clip, and we'll just keep going until we're quite satisfied that this system does exactly what it's designed to do. Let's do it. And what I have here is, you'll see earlier in the video where I talked about how we made these the size of blocks that is used in industry to build a building. So this is what we were practicing on and testing and proving an earlier shoot, something about this size. And by tweaking the mix, we were able to stop a .50 caliber. This is how thick it is. This one happens to be aerated concrete. This would not stop a .50, but some of the other mixes did. But I just wanted to show you the size, because it could be poured to this size, it could be poured into molds, in framing, whatever. We're not going to shoot this today. I just wanted to show you what the blocks were that we're using, and you can see that on our videos as well, where I've got those blocks stacked up. This is the size of one right here.
All right, folks, here we go. Here we are again with our old friend, the M1 Garand. You can see that we are indeed using the armor-piercing black tip. And we're going to see what we can do with this thing. So, here we go. And clear.
I've got no penetration on the tiling. You can see here the mesh from the rock. What happened is a few pieces got blown back from the compression wave, but there's no penetration of the round. There is the siding from the back. That got popped off at the first shot.
So, again, it's a survivable injury.
Yep. However, the tile did stop it. I'm not seeing anything. That's something in the cardboard there. That's not a puncture.
That's where the tile hit the cardboard.
That's where the tile hit the cardboard.
So, even though some flying debris.
Yep, there's the flying debris right there. Nothing coming through, or this would be just torn up. That just got punched out. So the tiling worked. The siding got very, very close. So now we're going to put it up against the AR-15, multiple rounds. So now we're going to hit it with multiple rounds
from an AR-15. I'm going to be using the 5.56 green tip NATO armor piercing. This seems to be the weapon of choice that a lot of these school shooters are turning to. So we're going to see how much damage we can cause in the paneling by throwing those multiple rounds into this.
So, realizing that a majority of school shootings and other workplace shootings does not happen with an assault rifle. I hate that term. This is not an assault rifle. It's a semi-automatic hunting rifle, simple as that. 22 caliber, 5.56. However, this is what all the hype is about. This is what the media thinks is going to be the downfall of all of us, and this is what everybody wants banned and all of that. I don't get it, but okay. So, it looks scary. It's just a 22. So here we have the 5.56 AR-15 platform, or the M4 platform, and we're just going to beat this thing up with it because this is what everybody's hyped about. The big scary looking military gun. So, Mike, I think you just put a bunch of rounds in it and see what happens.
That's what I got planned. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
AR-15, 5.56 green tip NATO. I'm going to put 10 on the left, 10 on the right. We'll check out the damage, then we'll do it again. Here we go. Fire in the hole. On the right. Safety on, clear. Here's 10 shots on the left, 10 shots on the right. No penetration. That's 20 rounds. That's clear. No tiles knocked off. No penetration. No tearing. Let's give it 20 more shots. 20 more rounds. AR-15, 5.56 green tip NATO. 10 on the left, 10 on the right. Fire in the hole. Right side. Safety on, clear. That's 40 rounds. 40 rounds. No penetration after 40 rounds. Let's hit it for 20 more. 10 more rounds left, 10 more rounds right. AR-15, 5.56, green tip NATO. Fire in the hole. On the right. Safety on, clear. No penetration after 60 rounds. 60 rounds. 5.56 green tip NATO armor piercing.
I have my old friend here, the SKS, with the 7.62 by 39. So let's do a little AK-47 run hunting. And to the right side.
No penetration. So there you have it. We put a couple of armor-piercing bullets into this, 30 caliber, then 60 rounds of the AR-15 5.56 green tip NATO, then 20 rounds of the AK-47 or the 7.62 by 39. The only thing that penetrated was the black tip NATO on the right side. You can see where it went through sideways. I'm guessing once I remove this, I'm going to find it right down there at the bottom.
And so now I've emptied out all the magazines on my AK and my AR and all of that. It's still not doing, but I still have Daddy's 1911, and I'm getting frustrated that I can't get through the stupid door. So clear. And before you go around back, Mike, I'm still frustrated.
Nothing. It's not even getting through the first part of it. Looks the same as it did before. Let's take a shotgun to it. 12 gauge shotgun slug.
Okay. Hell, it's stopped everything else. Why not?
Why not? So we still haven't been able to defeat this panel, and we're throwing everything at it. I thought, why not a shotgun? 12 gauge shotgun, 7 slugs. All of this is at 3 yards, just about where an active shooter would take aim. So here we go. 12 gauge shotgun, 7 slugs. Fire in the hole. Clear.
I love the smell of cordite in the morning. Well,
It pounded the snot out of it, but no penetration.
still holding.
It's still holding. And I'll remind you, after all the other rounds we put into it before hitting it with the shotgun slugs. That's rather amazing.
The only thing I can say about that, Mike, is our kids are still safe.
Yes.
Because
Anybody behind this barrier,
we threw everything at it, including the kitchen sink, and
I
it's still holding.
emptied 2 30-round magazines from an AR into this. You did 12 rounds of an AK-47, 7.62 by 39. How many 45s did you put into that?
Well, I put 12 and 12,
So there's 12 more on that side.
and then 2 full magazines at rapid fire, so there was no aiming. It was just throwing lead at it.
And 7 rounds of 12-gauge shotgun slug. All at 3 yards.
Or less.
Or
The
less.
handgun, I was about 1.5 yards.
This is just a quick add-on to our video to show you the versatility of these panels. We estimate that the panels will be most probably built in a 3-foot by 3-foot construction, so they could be placed in front of staff working to, let's say, a courthouse or in an airport where TSA personnel are working, or how about to an entrance to a school where you have a public safety officer residing, checking students as they come into class. The panels you see in front of you are just a larger version of the paneling that you just witnessed being shot with some very powerful ammunitions. The question arises, can these panels be moved in case of an emergency? Let's say someone just outside the perimeter of where these people are stationed witnesses an event where somebody drops, let's say, a bucket bomb. You see a bucket sitting there. Can these panels be moved to that location to help corral that bucket or that pipe bomb or that pressure cooker bomb, to isolate it in case the device activates, sending shrapnel and a pressure wave and deadly material every direction? If this IED can be somewhat corralled, it would greatly reduce the shrapnel and other elements of that device that are meant to maim and kill. So what I'm going to show you now is that, yes, these panels can be moved quite quickly and readily, being set in place where they're most needed, simply by using a hand truck furniture dolly. I'm going to move the paneling to your right. This is full of the core material that stopped the 7.62 by 63 .30 caliber long rifle munition quite effectively. This paneling weighs a little over 400 pounds. But that plays to the effectiveness of the panel itself. Being that heavy, it's not going to move too readily if it's struck by an explosive device or a high energy munition. In addition, these panels can be placed side by side and have a tabletop placed on top, and when properly constructed with a well-designed support system, you have excellent cover against tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes. The weight is a plus. It's partially the result of this being so low tech. However, the low tech leads to low cost, and it's the low cost which will allow organizations and schools and businesses to afford the paneling. So what I'm going to do now is approach the paneling with a hand truck. I'll show you just how stable the platform is of the paneling. I'll put it on the hand truck and I'll move it around to show you just how easy it is to move this, even though it's over 400 pounds. Take note of the wheels of the hand truck. You'll see that, yes, there is some weight that's being applied, but you'll see how easy it can be moved and how quickly it can be moved. I'm a little bit on an uneven surface, so this is going to wobble just a little bit, but you can see how stable and how heavy this panel looks. I'm guessing about 430 pounds. All I have to do to get the hand truck underneath the paneling is just push it forward a little bit. All done. Bring it back. Look at the tire, it's got some weight on it. Right there. If you look at the tire, you can see it's got some weight on it. I could drop it in place. Pick it up again. Move it to the site where there's a possible device. Here's your IED. Placed paneling right next to it without disturbing it. Very important. I can add
3 more if I want to totally contain it. Or just a couple. Corral it so the blast wave is sent a direction away from staff, people, students, whatever. There's your device. Right up to the IED. Place it next to the IED, corralling the IED where it's sitting. Remove the hand truck. Go for a second paneling. Do the same thing. Now the device is corralled. If it detonates, the shrapnel, pressure wave will be mitigated by the panel. So you can see it doesn't take much to move the paneling around. This with a simple hand truck. You can get these in place very quickly if the need ever arises. Let me give you a side view of this. Again, this is rated at an 800-pound hand truck with furniture dolly. The paneling is on an uneven surface, that's why it's wobbling a little bit, but it's fairly difficult to move, fairly difficult to accidentally knock over. But if I want to move it real quickly, get it to a different location that may have a bucket bomb IED of some sort, that's all it takes. Very easy to move. Again, 800-pound hand truck. Here are the 2 ballistic systems that we've been testing these last many months. This is getting ready to go to the range for a ballistic test against improvised explosive devices, such as a bucket bomb or a pipe bomb. Don't worry, they're both inert, nothing in them are empty. The 2 systems consist of a composite block system. I have actually 3 variables in the blocks that you see before you. One's the regular mix, one is an aerated mix, so it's lighter, the block is lighter, and one is an enhanced mix. And that particular enhanced mix is what defeated the 50 caliber 660 grain BMG at 10 yards. 3 rounds, 2 of them on top of each other. These are about the size of a cinder block because we want to keep stuff comparable and comparable to the industry standards. If someone is to build a building out of this, or a barracks, or a house, we would like to be using some of the same size materials. So the cinder block is what we went with as far as the size. 8-inch thick, 8-inch high, 16 inches long. We hit it at this angle with the 50 caliber 8-inch width section, and it stopped all 3. The steel paneling is designed more for operations inside buildings, say inside an airport where TSA personnel are working. Entrance to a courthouse, entrance to a jail, entrance to a law enforcement precinct, a mall, back of a classroom, entrance to a school. These are portable. You've seen it on the video where we can move this around quite easily, quite readily, just in case they have to be moved for something like this, and you want to corral it. So we're going to take this system, consisting of the 2 ballistic systems, out to the blast range, and we're going to put it in this configuration, putting an IED, an improvised explosive device, in the midst, set it off. We'll see how it mitigates the shrapnel, the blast wave,
and any of the debris that it kicks up. We're hoping not only will it stop the shrapnel and the blast wave or the compression wave on its surface, but will also redirect a lot of the blast wave and shrapnel either straight up or out. All of this is being done under the direction of the local county sheriff's office. So it's off to the range.